Now that you're scanning, Julie, we're going to talk about the modes. You can see that B mode is illuminated in backlit orange, and that's just general basic 2D scanning. Right next to it is M mode, color, and pulse wave Doppler. So you have all your modes right in a row. And let's go ahead and start with M mode first. When you press it, you go have your green line there, and you can move it back and forth with the trackball. And the update function allows you to then start sampling. You're going to use that for fetal heart rate, pneumothorax, and emergency medicine. There's a lot of use for M mode.
Okay.
To be able to turn that on and off, you can either hit M mode again, or you can press the B mode button. That'll always bring you back home to general basic 2D imaging. Right next to it is your color Doppler. When you press color Doppler, it brings up your box. If you want to change your box size, you can hit the set button. That'll allow you to use the trackball to go left and right, up and down, and then the set allows you then again to move wherever you want the color box to be.
Great.
You can use the steer button here, which is like a quick steer for being left, right, or vertical, as well as on the menu that we spoke of a little bit earlier using the rotary navigation function.
Okay.
When you want to invert, that's on the menu, which you're going to use the rotary nav key for. And
So do I press it?
No, you'll just turn it.
Just turn it.
Yep, and you'll
Okay.
see that you'll go down there to invert, and then once you get to invert, then you press it and turn it again. And now you can see that your color's been inverted. That might be one of the few times that you're going to change and use that rotary nav key to find that invert. You'll see other imaging parameters on there, and that's a good time to refer to your user manual for some of those other parameters.
Because these are a lot of things that we wouldn't normally change: persistence, line density, packets. I mean, we don't normally make those adjustments.
Correct.
But invert, steer, which is nice, but here's a quick key to do it here.
And most of your image presets are going to be very good at honing in on the majority of what you're doing. You know, if you need
She
to
wouldn't have to change this.
if you want to change your scale, that quick key for scale allows you to press it, and then you can use the rotary nav key, and you'll see on the side of your screen how you're changing the scale. But again, those image presets tend to be pretty sharp and dialed in for the majority of what you do.
Good.
So go ahead and hit the B mode and bring us back to 2D basic imaging. And now we'll talk about the pulse wave Doppler. When you hit pulse wave Doppler, you bring up your cursor with your sample volume, and you can see that your angle is already there for you. Here's where steer comes back into play, that quick key, so it goes left, right, and vertical.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's automatically set for you at 60 degrees to be hopefully parallel with the vessel walls. But we all know that you need to make some adjustments every now and again, so that's where your rotary navigation will allow you to change on this menu your quick angle. And when you press quick angle and press down the rotary nav key, it goes between your 60, 60, and 0. And then if you press it again and scroll down to angle, that's where you have your fine angle adjustments for just individual angle, one at a time. And when you're ready to start sampling, that's when you're going to hit the update button. You do have other options, again, in terms of your parameters for your pulse wave that I would refer you to the user manual to change some of these things. Things like scale and baseline can be found on those quick keys.
So I press it and
then
then I rotate.
Yep, because you'll see that it becomes backlit orange, and that means,
Right.
again, that it's active and allows you then to turn in the rotary nav key. And scale, likewise, when you press it, you can see that scale
That's great.
adjusts,
Yep.
and you see that scale over on the right-hand side of your spectral analysis.
And then I just hit update if I come off of my vessel or something. I can hit
Yep,
update.
and you go back to live imaging. You'll see that you do have other options here in your menu, which you're going to use your rotary nav key for to be able to scroll through those. If you go up to where it says B at the top of the image, you do have the ability to click through and then bring you back to some of your other parameters depending on the mode. And so it'll take a little bit of time. You just play with it, and you won't hurt anything just by playing with it and figuring out your machine. But that user manual does a nice job of pointing out some of the things that are a little bit more advanced.
Okay. And again, if we were to make a lot of adjustments and say, oh no, how do I get back to what Mindray thinks is the proper parameters for this exam, you would just go to probe?
Yes, you would. Yep. If you hit probe, that'll allow you to bring up both of your transducers or just one transducer, whichever is plugged in, and you see your list of image presets, and go ahead and select the same one or a different one, whatever you want to go into, and that'll bring you back to the default settings.
Right, to get you back to normal if you've gone a little crazy with your adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
among those modes, you also have a dual screen option, which is great. So if you want to press dual screen, you can go ahead and get in there, and it'll show you that you have, a dual screen for, compressibility of vessels, showing normal versus abnormal, any pathology that you want to use. And you can see that M is bright on the screen that you're actually live with. If you hit dual, you'll go back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And as you come to the point in which you find what you want, and you hit dual, and you can go back and forth, like you can press the vessel and hit dual, and then you can show that the vessel is patent and open, then you can hit freeze, and what you'll see now is that you have the ability to use the trackball to cine loop back and find the frame that you want on that one, and if you want to go back to the other side of the screen, you hit dual, you see that M is bright, and you can then cine loop back to the point in which that you want to be at in order to save now your image. Saving images, you'll see that you have two save buttons. One is labeled Save 1 and one is labeled Save 2. Typically, those are set up just out of the box that one will save an image and Save 2 will save a cine loop. When we talk about the duration of cine loop, that's when we'll look under the Setup tab and talk about cine loop duration. But for now, you understand that Save 1 is a save image and Save 2 is a cine loop. And to do the cine loop, you do want to make sure that you are frozen, or else you'll get a little message that says, go ahead and freeze first before you go into cine.
Before you hit the cine clip.
For the Save 2 button.
So let me just get out of dual by hitting the B?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, B mode again is your basic, your B mode, kind of go home button.
So if I swept through just like this and I hit freeze and Save 2 as a cine clip, it's saving what I did
retrospectively.
3 seconds before.
Yes.
4 seconds before, retrospective. Okay.
It is.
Good. And then can we talk about these buttons
Yeah,
here?
so go ahead and hit freeze. And so as you're imaging through and now you want to change your depth, if the carotid is a little deeper, you can see that if you turn that knob that you get a little bit more depth. And then right above it, focus is what you're going to want to change oftentimes when you're changing your depth because of what you're looking at. You want to make sure that it's crisp and clear.
So you want your focal zone parallel or in line with the specific thing that you're looking at.
Yep,
okay,
exactly.
And then if I press the button, I'm switching to frequency, which a lot of people may or may not want to manipulate, but the focus and the depth are two of the main
They are,
parameters.
and that's why they're on top in terms of those two items per knob. The focus is something that you change more often than your frequency, and the depth is something you change more often than using a zoom function.
So can you tell me the difference between zoom and iZoom?
Yes, I can. So when you're looking at this knob here and you see depth and zoom, go ahead and change by pressing down on the button. You see that you get a box, and that's going to be where you want to zoom on your image. You can change that box size by using the trackball and the set key, and then when you press the set key again, it'll lock it in, similar to how you did it with the color box.
Yeah, same.
And now when you've pressed the knob again, you've actually zoomed in, and when you turn that knob, you can see that you're zooming in quite a bit.
Right.
So that's a true zoom function on the system.
Okay.
Now if you press zoom again, it'll go back out to your regular image and you're back to depth on that option.
Okay.
Now what we have on the machine, which is special to Mindray, is called the iZoom, and we have that on the F1 key, and that's the way it should be with your key configuration, as it comes to you. And we'll talk about that under the setup in a different chapter.
Okay.
But F1 will actually be an iZoom, so go ahead and hit press that, and it'll up sample the image. So you're not zooming in, so you don't have any, you don't lose any pixels. It actually keeps the image nice and sharp. And so this is like a medium, and then I like to refer to the next, if you hit F1 again, the iZoom, then you go full screen.
Oh, I see.
And you have the ability to go between kind of a normal size, a medium, and a full upsample to large screen. So if you press it again, you'll see that F1 key becomes non-backlit orange and is back to where you see your images saved along the bottom and your patient information on the banner.
That's nice.
That's one thing I want to take a look at down here. You saved images and you saved some clips, and you'll see that those are populated down as thumbnails on the bottom. And the difference between those, and it may not be readily something that you see right away, but you'll look and see that it has those little reel that like a movie strip. Yeah, and if you press or hover over that with your trackball and the cursor.
So cursor button.
Cursor button, correct. And then you go over, and if you hover over it, you can see that it makes it a little bit bigger, but if you double press the set button, now it'll make it bigger, and you can actually see that image there. Likewise, if you double press the set button on one of the cine clips, it'll run right through. Yeah, and you'll see that it's playing through all those frames of the cine clip right there. And And so now if you wanted to stop that cine clip for some reason, you can use the trackball, and you can see that you're scrolling back and forth.
Can I save a still image
You
from
can.
here?
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead
that's
and press
nice.
save one.
Okay.
Yep,
That's
there you
nice.
go. And so you can see it populates right there.
Oh, that's good.
Now to go back to then live scanning, or to not be in this cine clip that you're reviewing, go ahead and hit the freeze button. You can, it was backlit orange.
And you're back to normal.
Yep. And we'll talk about what the garbage can mean, which would be trash, and the arrow, which would be the send to, which is all covered under image management and how to export things. So we'll cover that as well.
So a lot of these, just to review, a lot of these parameters that we're seeing under the rotary navigation tool are things, some we may or may not want to change as we get more and more comfortable with the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. We always
buttons.
encourage people to, you know, this is your machine, and we want people to use it and find out what they like and how to customize it. That being said, there are some things that are in each image preset, each exam preset, that are, you know, locked in pretty well for every user that's going to grab it, that they don't need to make some of those adjustments, but the manuals do a nice job of a quick reference guide.
Great.
As well as contacting your local sales rep and product specialist.
Great.